All right, we just saw Magic in the Moonlight, and on this show I take my friends, we go see a movie, then we do a review in the car afterwards, as well as a discussion. The review part is spoiler-free, so if you're on the fence and trying to decide if you want to see the movie or not, watch that part. And the second part is more detailed and more potential for spoilers and plot points and that kind of thing, so if you have already seen the movie and want to hear more about what we thought about it, you can watch that part. So this is obviously a Woody Allen movie. It's a very straightforward story, but it's an interesting one. It's very focused on Colin Firth's character and Emma Stone's character, and whether or not she is actually a medium or a fraud. He's brought in to try and figure that out, and falls in love with her in the process and all that sort of thing. The movie can feel a little bit rushed, and the editing is a little strange in that there's a bunch of scenes that just sort of go on for like 8 seconds, and then there's a cut and they're somewhere else, and they have like 2 lines, and then there's a cut and they're somewhere else. And even so, the movie is kind of on the longer side. It does go on for a little bit more than you would expect, and so they talk about a lot of things, and for us watching it, we kind of figured out what the trick was, or what we figure out a little bit faster than the characters do what is going on. But even so, I thought it was enjoyable. It's certainly not something that I could only see Woody Allen doing. I mean, there's a lot of Woody Allen movies that are very much like him. He adds some affectation to it. The music and the time period and the locations are very, similar to a lot of the things that he does. And Colin Firth is kind of the surrogate version of Woody Allen in the film, which usually in a Woody Allen movie there's somebody that's playing the neurotic Woody Allen character. But all that being said, like, this could have just as easily been, like any independent movie that you'd go and see. As far as like where to see it, I don't know that seeing it in the theater is a big deal, but I would definitely catch it when it comes out at some point. And it's fun to watch, and it's interesting, and there's some funny stuff that they say in it. So I enjoyed it. What'd you think?
I actually enjoyed it a lot. What you were talking about, anybody could have done it. Another thing is, as good as the movie was, and it was, Colin Firth absolutely just chewed up the scenery every time he was on screen. Mm-hmm. He was amazing. It was set in, 1928? 1928
like
France.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody speaks French. Not one person. Nobody even with a French accent, which blows my mind. Also, it literally could have been set in any other time period, and it would have been the same story. I know why they chose 1928 to capitalize on the fact that Houdini was doing the same thing at that time. Mm-hmm. But
it's also kind of Woody Allen's favorite. Like the 20s through the 40s is kind of his favorite time period that you go to.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't like the 20s? They even had a Gatsby party. Mm-hmm. Good movie. I can't decide if Emma Stone is a good actress or not.
Okay.
Like, she always plays a bumbling American, and I can't decide if that's because she can't speak with an accent. She always seems to play herself. If you ever watch her in an interview, she's very much like that. But the fact that the movie focused on her and him, their relationship, and everybody else was just kind of in the background, very interesting. Because you have all these characters that you can play on, but you really don't know anything about them. It's like how I kind of felt that we came into the movie in the second act.
Yeah.
Even though we were clearly there from the beginning. It was like everybody was introduced, all the characters knew each other, and then you never find anything out about these people. They're just there. They're literally window dressing for Emma Stone and Colin Firth.
You do find out the things that she reveals about them.
Well, yeah, that she divines.
The exposition is sort of done through the medium stuff, and that's sort of an interesting way to set up the movie. But yeah, it does. It has this feeling that it's just so focused, and it's actually something I liked about the movie was that it set up its premise immediately that we're going to try and figure out if Emma Stone's character is a charlatan or not.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went about doing that. Like, here's what we're going to do, and then we're doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of, giving us all these...
Yeah, and I just found it interesting, that they used the characters... They weren't characters. They were never full-fledged characters. The only full-fledged characters you get are literally the two leads. Well, maybe the third lead, his friend.
Mm-hmm.
And his aunt. But pretty much everybody else was window dressing.
Yeah.
And used as merely plot devices.
Right.
And I thought that was very, very interesting to focus so much on these characters that everybody else simply became objects in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just as hard to watch Colin Firth and not think that this is like Pride and Prejudice and magic. But I really enjoyed the movie. So, at any rate, that's the review portion. As far as the discussion, going into spoilers and that kind of thing, talking about it, I know a lot of people. There's been some people talking about this movie in terms of how it seems like a very transparent way to be sort of an apologist for atheism or for not believing in prayer or things like that. Like it's Woody Allen trying to say those things. And I don't really buy that from the story. I really think, sure, he's exploring those things and sure, he might have thoughts like that, but I really didn't feel like he was trying to like directly lead you to his conclusion or be apologetic about any of that kind of stuff. I mean, the Colin Firth character is a jerk, and it's fun to watch because he's a jerk.
He was pretty amazing.
That proposal scene.
The proposal scene alone makes it worth the money.
Yeah, what he proposes to her toward the end of the movie, almost at the end of the movie, and what were you saying? He's like, he basically shames her into...
He does.
Or he attempts to shame her. She turns him down.
What does he call her? Ingrate. He calls her an ingrate.
Yeah, don't be an ingrate. I'm not going to...
During the proposal, he calls her an ingrate.
Going to take the offer off the table.
What was I going to say? There was a... Colin, going back to your thing about apologists for atheism, it kind of seems that way, and then he swerves it back as, okay, so maybe this idea of spiritualism and faith isn't as harmful as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of why I was happy wasn't that I suddenly was open to the idea of faith. It's because I was with her.
Yes.
And so it's less of an apologetic view of atheism, or even condoning or being open to the idea of faith in God. It's that, opening up yourself to the possibility of being irrational.
Right.
Is what can make magic. And honestly, I felt like the movie had a lot to do with his own relationship. Colin Firth was engaged to a woman, and more his age, meets the young girl, the young American girl, and falls in love with her very, very quickly and runs off with her. I thought that was more a look at
More
his
autobiographical.
life. Yeah. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I could see that. Again, I don't know how personal to really put. I try to tend to segregate the artist's life and what I know about the artist's life from what they're doing. Try not to link it too closely together, but I can see that interpretation. Going into it. There's people that I don't really care for personally that I really like the stuff that they create. So I try to keep an open mind about the difference between the two. Not that Woody Allen's somebody that I don't like or anything like that. But yeah, I just overall, like I said in the first half. I mean, we did figure out what was going on before it was revealed, or we had a guess, and it turned out to be right as to what was going on. And I also just, I mentioned that I thought just about anybody could have made this movie, that it didn't have sort of the Woody Allen stamp on it. And that's still something that I would say is kind of a strike against it, that I feel like maybe there was a Woody Allen movie here, or more of a Woody Allen movie here that just didn't get made, or it felt, I mean, you picked up on it as sort of not a lot of character development. I picked up on it as a very strangely edited, like choppily edited movie. It feels a bit of a rushed project.
Well, like I was explaining to you, it felt like a snapshot. Like, here's a snapshot of this, here's a snapshot, and they kind of just pushed it together.
Yeah.
It was like we weren't getting the full story.
Yeah. Like they left out a couple of chapters.
Yeah, it was like, oh God, if you went into a movie and it was like Act 1, Act 2, Act 4. Wait, what happened to Act 3?
Yeah, like we never really get into him and his actual fiance at the beginning of the movie. Like, we meet her, but the whole breakup or conversation happens off screen.
Pretty much every conversation happens off screen. Like,
yeah.
You're supposed to, I want to say that he wanted us to have, of course we want to champion them being together, but also you've got reticence because he's got a fiance, but we don't get that because she's not a part of the movie.
Yes, and we also don't care about, we're made to not care about the ukulele
Oh my
guy.
God.
We're made to dislike that guy and not care that
Like,
Colin Firth is like,
yeah,
coming in on his girl, basically.
Also, there's no semblance of time. How long has he been there? How long have they been courting, if you will?
And none of that stuff I would say, like, I don't think the movie needs to be longer. I don't think any of that stuff needed to be developed more. It felt strange, just because it's not how a lot of movies are made. It's not how a lot of things, are put together. It's so it's a little unexpected.
They kept making reference to the scene where they go into the observatory. They make reference to that a few times throughout the movie. It makes me feel like that scene when they're in the observatory was supposed to be longer, or is supposed to be more in depth.
Well, that's the magic in the Moonlight. The titular magic in the Moonlight was that they found that observatory out of nowhere, and he slept and all of that. Yeah.
he did. Oh
He
my God,
slept.
the scene where she at the Gatsby party where she confronts him about, do you think about me as a woman, and he just has the worst best answers in the
Yeah,
whole world. Just, they're spectacular.
pretty awesome stuff. Well, anyway, that's Magic in the Moonlight. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Check it out if you haven't seen it yet, and please like and subscribe to our reviews. Check them out. We do both written and video reviews at dalemaxfield.com. Thanks for watching.